The deep space sector known as the Void Expanse stretched endlessly before the UES Crimson Dawn, a massive human dreadnought patrolling the outer rim territories. Captain Marcus Kane stood on the bridge, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the stars drift past the viewport. Kane was a veteran of 30 years in the human defense fleet, his dark hair now streaked with silver and his blue eyes carrying the weight of countless battles. Beside him, Lieutenant Commander Nina Torres monitored the sensor array with practiced efficiency. Her Latino heritage showed in her olive skin and dark eyes that missed nothing on her displays. She had served under Kane for 5 years and trusted his instincts more than any computer system. "Captain, we're receiving some unusual readings," Torres reported, her voice steady despite the concern creeping into her tone. "There's electromagnetic interference about 2 clicks off our starboard bow, but I'm not detecting any ships or debris." Kane moved to her station, studying the swirling patterns on the screen. In his experience, space rarely produced natural phenomena that looked this organized. "Run a full spectrum analysis. If something's out there hiding, I want to know about it." Unknown to the human crew, they were already being watched. Floating in the darkness beyond their sensors, 12 sleek vessels of the Corvani Research Syndicate maintained perfect formation. These ships belonged to a race that had dominated their corner of the galaxy for millennia through superior technology and ruthless scientific curiosity. On the flagship, Prime Researcher Xyloth examined the human vessel through advanced scanning equipment. His species resembled tall, pale humanoids with oversized craniums and 6-fingered hands that moved with surgical precision. His amber eyes held no warmth as he studied the primitive yet surprisingly robust construction of the human warship. "Fascinating," Xyloth murmured to his assistant, a younger Corvani named Keth. "Their technology is crude compared to ours, yet they've managed to create weapons that pack considerable destructive power. Their armor plating is thick and redundant. These creatures think like warriors, not scientists." Keth consulted his data tablets. "The intelligence reports suggest humans are highly aggressive and unpredictable. Perhaps we should simply destroy this vessel and move on to easier prey." Xyloth's expression showed mild annoyance. "Destruction teaches us nothing. We need live specimens and intact technology. The Human Federation has been expanding too rapidly, claiming systems we consider our rightful research territories. If we can understand how they think and fight, we can predict their movements and control their expansion." The Corvani had been observing humanity for several months, carefully avoiding direct contact while they studied human behavior patterns. What they had learned both intrigued and disturbed them. Humans fought with a ferocity that bordered on insanity, refusing to surrender even when facing overwhelming odds. They formed emotional bonds with their crew members that made them fight harder for each other than for abstract concepts like duty or honor. Back on the Crimson Dawn, Chief Engineer Robert Tank Morrison wiped grease from his massive hands as he emerged from the engine room. Tank was Kane's younger brother, built like a fortress, with arms that could bend steel and a mind that understood machinery better than most people understood themselves. Despite sharing the same last name, the brothers had earned their positions through merit, not nepotism. "Marcus, I don't like what I'm seeing down in engineering," Tank said, his deep voice carrying the weight of genuine concern. "The quantum resonance chambers are picking up harmonic frequencies that shouldn't exist in empty space. Someone's watching us with scanning beams so advanced they're practically undetectable." Kane trusted his brother's technical expertise completely. If Tank sensed something wrong with the ship's systems, there was definitely a threat present. "How long before they make their move?" "If they wanted us dead, we'd already be debris," Tank replied grimly. "Whatever they want, they need us alive." The captain activated the ship's internal communication system. All hands, this is Captain Kane. We have detected possible hostile forces in our vicinity. All departments are to implement Code Yellow protocols immediately. This is not a drill. Throughout the massive ship, over 800 crew members responded with practiced efficiency. Weapons systems powered up, shield generators hummed to life, and damage control teams took their positions. The Crimson Dawn transformed from a patrol vessel into a weapon of war in less than 3 minutes. Xyloth watched this transformation with growing excitement. Remarkable. Look how quickly they adapt to threat situations. Their neural activity spikes increase coordination and reaction times. They become more dangerous when cornered, not less. "Sir, they're powering weapons," reported Tactical Specialist. Vren from his console. "Should we initiate the capture protocol?" The Prime Researcher's amber eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Begin the operation. Deploy the neural inhibitor nets and prepare the boarding craft. Today we add a human warship to our collection." As the invisible alien ships began to move into attack formation, Kane felt the familiar cold certainty that had kept him alive through decades of warfare. "They're coming," he announced quietly. "All hands, prepare for contact with unknown hostile forces. Remember your training. Trust your crewmates, and let's show these aliens what humans do to uninvited guests." The first sign of attack came as a shimmer in space, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. Then 12 alien vessels materialized. Around the Crimson Dawn, in perfect attack formation, their sleek silver hulls reflecting the distant starlight. The ships moved with unnatural precision, as if controlled by a single mind rather than individual crews. "Holy hell," breathed Lieutenant Torres as her sensors finally registered the alien fleet. "Captain, I'm reading energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. These ships they're beautiful and terrifying at the same time." Kane's jaw tightened as he studied the tactical display. The aliens had positioned themselves in a sphere formation around his ship, cutting off all escape routes. It was a textbook encirclement, executed with mathematical perfection. "They've been planning this for a while. Tank, how are our engines?" "Ready to burn hard if needed." Tank's voice crackled through the comm system from engineering. "But boss, I'm detecting some kind of energy field building around us. They're not just surrounding us, they're creating a cage." On the Corvani flagship, Xyloth monitored the human ship's reactions with scientific fascination. The crew's biometric readings showed elevated stress levels, but not panic. Instead, their neural activity patterns indicated focused aggression and tactical thinking. "Initiate the neural suppression field. Gradually increase power until their crew becomes docile." The invisible energy web began to tighten around the Crimson Dawn, designed to flood the human brains with calming neurotransmitters that would make them passive and compliant. It was a weapon the Corvani had used successfully on dozens of other species, turning fierce warriors into cooperative test subjects within minutes. But something went wrong immediately. "Sir, the neural field is having no effect," reported Vren, confusion evident in his clicking voice. "If anything, the regression levels are increasing." Lieutenant Torres stumbled at her console as the alien energy field washed over the bridge. Instead of becoming drowsy, she felt a surge of anger and determination that made her vision sharper and her reflexes faster. "Captain, they're doing something to our brains, but it's backfiring. I feel like I could take on the whole alien fleet single-handed." Kane experienced the same effect. The alien neural weapon that should have made him passive instead triggered every combat instinct he had developed over 3 decades of warfare. His mind became crystal clear, tactical possibilities flowing through his consciousness like a river of pure strategy. "All stations report in. How is the crew responding to whatever they're hitting us with?" From throughout the ship, department heads reported the same phenomenon. The alien neural suppression field was having the opposite of its intended effect on human brains. Instead of becoming docile, the crew was becoming more focused, more aggressive, and more coordinated than ever before. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the ship's chief medical officer, quickly ran diagnostic scans on several crew members. Her findings were startling. "Captain, their neural weapon is interacting with human brain chemistry in an unexpected way. Our fight-or-flight response is being amplified rather than suppressed. We're literally becoming more human under their attack." On the alien flagship, Xyloth stared at his instruments in disbelief. In over 2 centuries of research, he had never encountered a species that became more dangerous when exposed to neural suppression fields. "Increase power to maximum. Perhaps we simply need stronger output." The result was catastrophic for the aliens' plans. As the neural field intensity doubled, the human crew achieved a level of coordination and tactical awareness that bordered on telepathic. They began responding to threats before sensors detected them, anticipating alien movements with uncanny accuracy. Tank Morrison felt the energy surge through the ship's systems and suddenly understood the alien technology on an intuitive level. His hands flew over engineering controls as he began to reverse engineer their energy signatures in real time. "Marcus, I know how their cloaking works. Give me 60 seconds and I can strip away their stealth systems." "Do it," Kane ordered, then switched to ship-wide communications. "All hands, prepare for aggressive action. It appears our guests have made a serious miscalculation about human nature." Weapons Officer Brian Kowalski, a stocky man with Polish heritage and an artist's eye for targeting solutions, found himself seeing the battle space with perfect clarity. The alien formation that had seemed impenetrable moments before now revealed obvious weak points and tactical vulnerabilities. "Captain, I have firing solutions on all 12 targets. Their formation prioritizes scientific observation over defensive positioning." Chief Security Officer Lisa Park, a Korean-American woman trained in both martial arts and military tactics, coordinated the ship's defensive measures with supernatural efficiency. Her teams moved through the corridors like a single organism, preparing for the boarding action she somehow knew was coming. Xyloth finally realized the magnitude of his error as he watched human efficiency ratings climb beyond anything in Corvani databases. "Shut down the neural field immediately! We're making them stronger!" But it was too late. Tank completed his analysis of the alien cloaking technology and sent a pulse of precisely tuned electromagnetic energy through the Crimson Dawn sensor. A ray! The pulse spread outward like ripples on a pond, and suddenly the space around them filled with previously invisible alien ships. 43 vessels, Torres reported with grim satisfaction. They brought friends to the party. Kane smiled. For the first time since the engagement began, the aliens had expected to capture a single human warship with overwhelming force and advanced technology. Instead, they had triggered an evolutionary response in human brain chemistry that turned his crew into the most efficient fighting force in the ship's history. "Gentlemen and ladies," he announced to his crew, "I believe our visitors are about to learn why humans are considered the most dangerous species in this galaxy. All weapons, prepare to fire on my command." The hunters had indeed become the hunted, and the human warship they had planned to dissect was about to become their worst nightmare. The space around the Crimson Dawn erupted into chaos as 43 alien vessels suddenly found themselves exposed and facing a human crew operating at peak efficiency. The neural enhancement effect had transformed the ship's personnel into something beyond their normal capabilities, creating a collective intelligence that seemed to anticipate every alien move. Captain Kane stood at the center of his bridge like the eye of a hurricane, processing tactical information at superhuman speed. "Kowalski, target their command ship first." Tank, I need maximum power to forward shields. Torres, coordinate point defense systems with the weapons grid. The alien formation, so perfect for scientific observation, proved catastrophically vulnerable to military assault. The Corvani had positioned their ships to surround and study the human vessel, not to fight a determined enemy that could target all of them simultaneously. Prime researcher Xyloth watched in horror as his carefully planned capture operation disintegrated around him. All vessels implement evasive maneuvers, deploy combat screens and return fire. But the Corvani had spent centuries as the dominant species in their region of space, studying and cataloguing lesser civilizations. They had forgotten how to fight against an enemy that refused to follow their rules. Their weapons were designed for precision strikes against helpless targets, not prolonged combat against an opponent that shot back with devastating effectiveness. The Crimson Dawn's main cannons spoke with voices of thunder, sending streams of superheated plasma across space. The first alien ship to take a direct hit simply vanished in the expanding sphere of vaporized metal and atmosphere. The human crew cheered, but Kane remained focused on the bigger picture. They're trying to coordinate a withdrawal, he observed, watching the alien ships attempt to reform into a defensive pattern. Don't let them. Tank, can you jam their communications? From engineering, Tank's voice carried savage satisfaction. Already on it, brother. I've analyzed their quantum entanglement communication system, and I'm feeding them so much interference, they can't tell each other from their own shadows. Dr. Walsh monitored the crew's enhanced state from the medical bay, fascinated by readings she had never seen before. The alien neural weapon had apparently triggered dormant genetic sequences in human DNA, activating evolutionary adaptations that had been hidden for millennia. Captain, whatever they did to us is temporary, but while it lasts, we're operating at maybe 3 times normal efficiency. The battle became a masterpiece of human tactical innovation. Security Chief Park coordinated boarding parties that somehow knew exactly where alien ships would be vulnerable to breach. Engineer Morrison's damage control teams repaired battle damage faster than the aliens could inflict it. Medical teams treated wounded crew members with almost supernatural healing rates. Most remarkably, the entire crew began moving with perfect synchronization, as if they shared a collective consciousness. Orders were executed before they were given. Problems were solved before they became critical, and tactical solutions emerged from the group mind faster than any individual could have conceived them. On the alien flagship, Keith stared at his tactical displays in growing terror. Sir, we've lost 8 ships in the first exchange. Their accuracy rating is impossible. They're hitting targets they shouldn't even be able to see. Xyloth's scientific mind struggled to process what he was witnessing. The humans were demonstrating capabilities that violated everything the Corvani understood about biological limitations. Run full-spectrum analysis on their neural activity. How are they coordinating so effectively? The results defied explanation. The human crew was somehow sharing information at the quantum level, their enhanced brain states creating a network that operated faster than electronic communication systems. They had become a collective intelligence while retaining individual creativity and innovation. Lieutenant Torres detected the alien scanning attempts and turned them into a weapon. Captain, they're trying to analyze us with deep-level brain scans. I can reverse the polarity and use their own sensors to map their ship layouts. Within moments, the Crimson Dawn possessed detailed blueprints of every alien vessel in the fleet. Weak points in their armor, critical system locations, and crew positions became visible to the human tactical network. It was like playing chess against an opponent whose pieces had become transparent. The tide of battle shifted decisively as human boarding pods launched from the dreadnought's bays with perfect timing and targeting. Each pod struck alien ships at precisely calculated points, delivering security teams directly to critical systems while avoiding defended areas. Chief Park led one of these boarding actions personally, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to move through alien corridors like a force of nature. The Corvani defenders, despite their advanced technology, found themselves facing opponents who seemed to predict their every move while coordinating attacks with impossible precision. These aren't the same humans from our intelligence reports. An alien commander transmitted before his communication was cut short by a human breaching charge. They've become something else. Back on the Crimson Dawn, Kane watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their approach to humanity. They had assumed that humans were just another species to be studied and catalogued, not realizing that humans were themselves apex predators who had evolved to hunt the most dangerous prey in their galaxy's history: other humans. "Sir, multiple alien vessels are attempting to flee," reported Kowalski. "Should we pursue?" Kane considered the tactical situation. His crew's enhanced state was already beginning to fade as the alien neural weapon lost effectiveness. Soon, they would return to normal human capabilities, still formidable, but no longer operating at superhuman levels. Negative. Let the survivors carry word back to their leadership. I want every alien civilization in this sector to know exactly what happens when someone tries to dissect a human warship. As the remaining Corvani vessels limped away into hyperspace, Kane reflected on the battle's implications. The aliens had come seeking to understand human nature through scientific observation and experimentation. Instead, they had learned the most important lesson about humanity the hard way. Humans were not subjects to be studied, but predators to be respected. The neural enhancement was fading now, leaving the crew tired but victorious. They had faced overwhelming odds and superior technology, yet emerged triumphant through the most human of qualities: the refusal to surrender and the ability to adapt under pressure. 3 months after the incident at Void Expanse, the ripple effects of humanity's victory over the Corvani Research Syndicate had spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. The surviving alien vessels had carried tales of the human warship that had turned their perfect trap into a massacre, and various alien civilizations were taking notice of this dangerous new species. In the Grand Assembly chambers of the Hegemony Council, representatives from 47 different alien species gathered to discuss what they termed the human problem. The chamber itself was a marvel of xeno-architecture, with environmental zones adapted for dozens of different atmospheric and gravitational requirements. Archon Velith, a crystalline being whose body reflected light in prismatic patterns, called the session to order with harmonics that resonated through multiple dimensions. Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that violate our understanding of biological evolution. High Commander Thorak of the Draconian Empire, a reptilian species that had dominated military affairs for millennia, slammed his scaled fist on the chamber floor. Enough debate. These mammals spread across our galaxy like a plague. They refuse our offers of peaceful integration. They claim systems we have marked for expansion, and now they have humiliated the Corvani. They must be contained before they become unstoppable. The debate that followed revealed the depth of alien concern about humanity's rapid expansion. In less than 2 centuries since developing faster-than-light travel, humans had established colonies on over 300 worlds and created a military force that punched far above its weight class. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Sovereign, humanity's newest and largest dreadnought, Fleet Admiral Catherine Reynolds studied intelligence reports about alien military buildup in multiple sectors. Reynolds was a legend in the human defense fleet, a brilliant strategist whose tactical innovations had revolutionized space combat. Her silver hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her green eyes held the cold calculation of someone who had spent decades preparing for this moment. "They're massing fleets at 7 different staging points," she reported to the emergency session of the Human High Command. "Intelligence estimates over 2,000 alien vessels, representing at least 12 different species. They're calling it a pacification fleet, but we all know what that means." General Harrison Webb, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, nodded grimly. Webb was a scarred veteran of the colonial wars, his left arm replaced with a cybernetic prosthetic, after a boarding action gone wrong. "How long before they move against our outer colonies?" 6 weeks, maybe 8, Reynolds replied. "They're trying to coordinate multiple species with different technologies and tactical doctrines. It's like herding cats, but eventually they'll get organized enough to attack." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity was about to face its first true galactic war, outnumbered by odds that would have discouraged any sane military planner. But the men and women in this room had not achieved their positions by being sane or easily discouraged. President Maria Santos, the elected leader of the Human Federation, broke the silence. "Admiral Reynolds, what are our options?" Reynolds smiled grimly. "We do what humans have always done when facing impossible odds. We refuse to play by their rules." The plan that emerged from that meeting would have seemed insane to any alien military strategist. Instead of massing their forces for defensive actions, humanity would launch preemptive strikes against alien staging areas using small, fast-moving task forces. Each human ship would be outnumbered 50 to 1, but they would strike without warning and disappear before the aliens could respond effectively. Back on the Crimson Dawn, now patrolling the Kepler sector, Captain Kane received his new orders. With mixed feelings. His ship had become famous throughout human space as the vessel that had defeated the Corvani trap, and his crew had developed an almost mystical reputation for tactical brilliance. "Sir," Lieutenant Torres reported from her sensor station, "we're detecting massive alien fleet movements in the Rigel sector. It looks like they're preparing for something big." Kane studied the tactical displays with the same enhanced clarity he had experienced during the Corvani engagement, though without the alien neural weapons effects. The months since that battle had changed him and his crew in subtle ways. They moved with greater confidence, thought with sharper focus, and worked together with almost telepathic coordination. "Tank, how are our new weapon systems performing?" Kane asked his brother over the comm system. The chief engineer's voice carried excitement despite the dire tactical situation. "The quantum torpedoes are online and ready. I've also finished reverse engineering that Corvani cloaking technology. We can disappear from sensors for up to 30 minutes before the power drain becomes critical." Dr. Walsh had been studying the long-term effects of the alien neural weapon on the crew, and her findings were remarkable. "Captain, I believe the Corvani enhancement triggered evolutionary changes that are becoming permanent. We're not just better fighters now, we're becoming better humans." The implications were staggering. The alien attempt to subdue humanity had, instead, accelerated human evolution, creating capabilities that would be passed on to future generations. The species that had developed on a world where everything tried to kill them was becoming even more adapted for survival in hostile environments. Security. Chief Park coordinated training exercises that prepared the crew for the coming war with ruthless efficiency. Her Marines moved through combat scenarios with a fluidity that bordered on artistic, each individual perfectly synchronized with the whole while maintaining personal initiative and creativity. As reports flowed in from across human space, a pattern emerged. Every human ship that had been attacked by alien neural weapons showed similar enhancement effects. The various alien species trying to study or subdue humanity had inadvertently created a military force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Admiral Reynolds to all fleet commanders," came the transmission that would launch humanity's first galactic war. "Operation Prometheus is authorized. All task forces proceed to your assigned targets. Show them what happens when predators try to cage apex predators." The Crimson Dawn and dozens of other human vessels vanished into hyperspace, heading for alien staging areas where they would be outnumbered by impossible odds. But they carried with them something no alien species possessed: the absolute refusal to surrender and the evolutionary imperative to survive against any threat. The galaxy was about to learn that the most dangerous predator was one that became stronger when cornered. The Battle of Rigel Prime would be remembered as the moment humanity announced itself as a galactic superpower. What began as a desperate preemptive strike against overwhelming alien forces became a masterpiece of tactical innovation that redefined the nature of space warfare. Admiral Reynolds commanded the assault from the bridge of the UES Sovereign, watching as 47 human vessels dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation amid a gathering of over 2,000 alien ships. The odds were absurd, the tactical situation impossible, and the enemy prepared for everything except what actually happened. "All ships, implement Prometheus Protocol," Reynolds commanded, her voice carrying across the quantum communication network that linked every human vessel. "Remember, we're not here to win a fair fight. We're here to end this war before it begins." The human ships scattered like startled birds, each one cloaked by reverse-engineered alien technology and moving with the enhanced coordination that had become humanity's signature advantage. Instead of engaging the main alien fleets, they targeted command vessels, communication relays, and supply lines with surgical precision. Captain Kane brought the Crimson Dawn through the heart of the Draconian formation, his enhanced crew operating with superhuman efficiency. Quantum torpedoes launched in perfect sequence, each one guided by targeting solutions that seemed to anticipate enemy movements. Within minutes, the mighty Draconian battle line was reduced to confused fragments trying to coordinate through severed communication links. "Sir, we've eliminated their primary command structure," Torres reported with grim satisfaction. "They're operating on backup systems that can't handle fleet-level coordination." Hank Morrison's engineering team had worked miracles with the ship's power systems, allowing them to maintain cloak while firing full salvos and executing impossible maneuvers. "Marcus, I'm detecting cascade failures throughout their fleet. They built their entire tactical doctrine around centralized command, and we just cut off the head." Throughout the battle zone, similar scenes played out as human task forces demonstrated the tactical flexibility that came from enhanced neural networks and decentralized command structures. Each ship operated independently while contributing to an overall strategy that emerged from collective intelligence rather than rigid planning. The alien response was predictably catastrophic. Species that had spent millennia as dominant powers found themselves facing opponents who refused to follow established rules of engagement. Their superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't coordinate effectively, and their advanced technology was countered by human innovation and adaptability.